Hello and welcome to another edition of Geek to Geek, the show where I sit down with a fellow geek and discuss their origin story and learn a little bit about the trade that they're in and hopefully impart some advice onto you. My name is Nick Dorian, and on today's show we have a very special guest, a multi-award-winning composer who's not only composed songs for us here at home, but has gone on to LA to help work on some hit shows just like American Horror Story, American Crime Story, and even Mr. Robot. So would you help me welcome Mr. Rendra Zawawi? Welcome, Rendra. Welcome to our little show, Geek to Geek. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. How are you? It's been a while since I saw you, right?
Yeah, it has. Let's just say the last time I saw you, you were in Malaysia, like before
And
you left.
shit, that's like a long time ago, dude.
It is, it is. When I saw you, you were still busking in places like, did you busk in like the attic and stuff like that back in the day?
Oh man, those names are like I felt like it was like a lifetime ago. Yeah, the attic and stuff. KL Pack and No Black
Yeah.
Tie.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
no black
I
tie.
it's been such a long time, man. But dude, thanks for having me, man. Like it's such a great honor to be on a show like yours and
Oh,
talking to like homies alike, who are geeks in disguise.
trust me, it's an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you,
Okay,
thank you.
so in case people are unaware of who you are a, correct me if I'm wrong, you're a singer-songwriter and now you're composing for huge films in Malaysia and also a little bit in the US as well, correct me if I'm wrong.
You are not wrong. Um, and so you want to know the journey, how I got from there to there, kind of
Yeah,
basically.
let's start with when you were a little boy growing up in Malaysia. How did the influence of music come into your life?
Man, if this was like an origin visual thing, I'm gonna have like the title screen come in and then the score jang 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 and it's well, um, how did I start music when I was a kid? Right? How did it came into my life? You see, like I don't know if many people know this, but I actually come from a family of like a musical family kind of thing. My dad is a professor in anthropology, but he also dabbles professionally on the side as a songwriter, and he's written for songs for people like M Nasir, Rami Sarip, Khadija Ibrahim, all these old time icon legends. So I kind of and they were family friends. So as I grew up, um, they were always coming to the house, playing music, jamming with my dad. So I kind of grew up with that environment, me and my siblings. And so I sort of had that subconscious music thing in me, but it never really materialized, until when I was 15. Form 3, PMR, right? Right? PMR, right? Yeah. I remember studying for PMR, and 3 weeks before PMR, I got so stressed, and then my dad was like jamming downstairs, and I was like, "Dad, show me three chords. I just want to like whatever." And then he's all right. This is D minor, A major, E minor, Drang, 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 drang. And then I just left the living room. I took the guitar upstairs to my room and I just started playing. And the next thing you know, I started writing this my first song. The next day, I started writing lyrics. It was my that time my influence of music influenced the Beatles, Bee Gees, Bob Dylan because of my dad, and so I had all this very like soulful lyrics that I had no idea what it was about when I was 15. So my first song was called "I'm Lost" and was so poetic, and it featured three chords, and that's how I delved into the world of songwriting, which is what I went into next.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, what was it like? I mean, when you had like freaking M Nasir over at your house, did you know who they were, or it was just like, oh, this is one of my dad's friends?
I mean, obviously, initially it was like, oh, some random dude with long hair. but but no. As I grew up, I kind of knew who they were, and I went to their concerts. I became friends with their kids, and yeah, I just sort of like grew up in that environment. So it was kind of interesting, and it was. I'm very fortunate as well, I have to say.
Mm. So, as you were growing up, like, I'm guessing, did you study music? Did you go to
I
college for music and stuff like
I
that?
did. That was my second tertiary education. My first tertiary education was completely something else.
Where did you go, if you don't mind me asking?
The music school, the first one.
The music school.
I went to Berkeley.
Okay, all right. Now, at what point in your life did you make the decision that, okay, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life? This is going to be my career.
It wasn't a straight road, man. As you know, with a lot of things in life, it's always like peeling onions. Some people have bigger onions to peel, some just smaller. Mine was, a lot of layers of different things. Well, to answer your question, it didn't begin off the bat. Like I said, I did my first tertiary education. I went to University of Nottingham to do civil engineering. I kind of grew up in an environment where like you have to get a scholarship to do something professional, da 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 da. So I studied my butt off to get the scholarship, and I did go, and I did, I I got straight A's and stuff. I got the whole shemang thing. I did whatever the book said I should do. But my interest really lied in music, and I discovered my passion for music started like growing, restlessly while I was doing civil engineering. So while I was doing engineering in UK, I was actually, when my colleagues were busy studying in a library or studying bridges and whatever during their free time, I was like taking my guitar and busking at places, playing in bars and stuff like that to build experience. When I graduated from engineering, I came back home. Um, that's when I sort of decided that engineering wasn't for me, and that I kind of wanted to take a deeper look at the music side of me. So when I came back from Malaysia after graduating, I did, that's when I did the whole basking thing, busking thing, and that's when I met you, and the people around in KL, no Black Titan. So I gigged for about 3 years before I decided that I wanted to pursue music professionally to Berkeley. So that's kind of like how it went. And then I went to Berkeley. Then there's a whole section of my other life.
Now, at the time when you went over to Berkeley, were you aiming to be like a singer songwriter, or were you aiming to compose, or did you just was like,
That's a
I
good
just want to study
question.
music?
That's a good question. So before Berkeley, I was like a full fledged, singer songwriter. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna write songs, perform, I'm gonna be front stage, I'm gonna be like a rock star. So when I went to Berkeley, Berkeley had like all sort of different courses. They had songwriting courses, they had performance, then they had film scoring, they had production, all these different things. And I just chose the course that kind of related to me, as I were then, which was songwriting and performance. So I took those courses, but I think they had a little bit of leeway, into when you can change it. So as I took those courses, yeah, my idea was like when I graduated from Berkeley, I wanted to perform professionally, da da da, I'm in stage and everywhere. Then I took this class called Arranging One by this awesome professor, Joe Carrier. He changed my life because it was a class to show how instruments and measure numbers, so it's like looking at scores and how to write scores and stuff like that, how to arrange instruments. And it was my first time looking at music theoretically, so for me it related to my experience as an engineer, X versus Y kind of thing, like movements, like, oh my god, this makes sense, like I could see the flow of music through this sheets of music that goes from here to here. And I'm like, I was so amazed. It was such a simple, this is probably something basic for kids who go to music school at like 5 years old, but for me, it just came at this age. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I never knew you could carefully craft and calculate music like engineering in this thing you call a manuscript. And that class changed my entire perspective about wanting to do music. And this professor Joe, he was very helpful as well. He knew my story, and I asked him a lot of questions, and he show me things. And then after that class, I decided that, you know what, I feel like I would get more buck for my bang for my buck, um, in pursuing music behind the scenes, like, more as a producer, more as a composer, not necessarily film composer yet. That one came later, but more as like a behind the scenes music. So I made a conscious decision that I told myself that if I want to take this new route, I need to bury my old self. So I I literally took my guitar that has been accompanying my gigs for more than like how many 7 8 years. I hung it on the wall, and I said, it was like a ceremony. I was like, boom, I'm not gonna touch this guitar until I've done what I need to do in this college. So I just went this new route, totally shifted my focus, and that's when I knew I wanted to do music behind the scenes.
Wow, how poetic.
The singer songwriter
You
still lives somewhere.
I was just about to ask you, do you have any regrets about that, or do you feel like one day you will go back to being a singer-songwriter again?
I don't
Is
know,
that itch
man.
there?
It's people have been asking me a lot about that. I mean, I do still sing for my demos when I pitch stuff because I don't have to pay people for my for demos. I can sing on it, and it's pretty awesome side skill to have. Um, but the number one person who's been nagging me to do this is my dad. It's like, you should get back into like singing and writing. Like you've done what you've sort of built a stable baseline for your composing gig for films and TV. Maybe you should explore. Say, yeah, I mean, wait until COVID finish. Wait until this and that. I feel like I'm giving myself an excuse, but maybe I should really get back into it at some point.
Is it always that sort of like, I'll find one excuse, and then once that excuse is over, oh, actually, I'll wait until this point. No, actually, oh, it's okay. I'll wait until this point.
Something like that. I mean, I wouldn't say no to that, but I would still love to do it at some point. And I'm also curious to what I can come up with at this point of my life because I've written songs. I mean, since I come to since I moved to LA, I've written songs, but they were more for like corporate or work for hire kind of thing. I wasn't writing for myself, so I'm kind of curious to see what I would write for myself.
Okay. Now, speaking of writing, when you moved over to LA, you thankfully you got some work there, composing behind the scenes, and also helping out composing a few things for this American Horror Story and Mr. Robot, American Crime Story. How did that come about? How did you get your foot in the door for that?
Oh, that was quite a journey too, man. So I graduated Berkeley, came to LA, not knowing that I would be into this whole film and TV scoring. I just came to LA because LA was just the place to be for a lot of musicians, And I came here with a time limit as well because as a student who just finished school, you only have 1 year to do stuff and then figure out your next visa and stuff like that. So there was a lot of things that I needed to juggle. But what happened with me was I got an internship at a music production company that had a lot of composers, excuse me, and they were doing a lot of films, and I was interning for them, doing a lot of trivial coolie stuff. But it was the industry here is sort of that way, kind of like it's not a the music industry here is not a corporate structure. There's no such thing as like da da da. It's sort of like you gotta like be in the system to know people and then start doing things, gain indirect experiences. So I was doing non-musical stuff at first, and it slowly became musical stuff, and it slowly became more musical stuff, and then somewhere in the middle, uh, one of the things I was doing in the internship kind of opened a door for me to be an assistant to a composer, Mac Quayle. He's this Emmy winning composer. So I got my foot in the door into this whole industry of film and TV writing through him. And with him, I was more of an assistant. I was doing a lot of prep work for music, very music, technical musical stuff, and I learned so much from that. It wasn't music writing off the bat. Um, when I started that, his business was music writing for film and TV. Necessarily, um, I graduated. Oh, I forgot to mention this. This is going back to the previous question. Um,
Okay.
After that, arranging one course, I switched my major to contemporary writing and production. So no longer
Okay.
songwriting and performance. It was a major that allowed me to learn everything across the board, including film scoring. Sorry. Okay. So time back jump.
No worries.
So no, I guess what I was just trying to say when I was being an assistant to Mac, I suddenly I got thrown into this world of film and TV composing, and that was my first exposure to it. And I was like, oh, this is really interesting. I like watching TV. I like watching films. I love them. I love the music, and I actually can do this behind the scenes. Like I like writing music to dialogues. Like the dialogues. You treat the dialogues as if they were the lead singer in the band. What would you do around that? So I understand the performance and band setting. So it's more like applying that to film scoring, where the dialogue is the lead singer. And I was like, oh, I could do this. I kind of like this, and and that's when I kind of made a switch from becoming, I made a switch towards wanting to do music for film and TV. And then as I became his assistant for the next 4 or 5 years, um, I was slowly led into his music projects, and I got to write some music for American Horror Story and American Crime Story as an additional composer under his tutelage and mentorship. And that, I would say, would be the beginning of me wetting my feet into that industry. And fun fact, the first music I ever wrote that appeared in in American cable TV network was for the scene in American Horror Story, and it was a sex scene of clowns in a supermarket grocery.
Well, I mean, if that's going to be the start, it's a pretty big start.
I was like, man, I'm coming out with the bang.
Well done. Okay, actually, that brings me to a good point. Like, because of course, every composer has their own way of working with things and coming up with the sound of it. How do you come up with the sound for a scene?
Come up with the sounds.
Like, do you hear the music in your head first? Do you watch it and then go, maybe this could work, this could work? How does your process work?
In the context of film, writing for picture, film and TV, I think it's important that you. I think that's a conversation you need to have with the director or the producer first. Once you have that conversation, you kind of get an idea of what sound template, sound playground that you're looking for. And then from there you narrow it down and stuff like that, and then you kind of before you start any project, and there's a lot of ways of doing it. Like how I start is I kind of look at the scene, and then as I move along, I kind of like, if I know the score is electronic, then I have a set of my synth libraries that I use, and I say, all right, this one fits nicely. This one is too distorted. This one, I play around with it. And once I get my sound template in order, like, all right, I think this is the sound we're going for. Like, I have my pads, I have my pulses, and my drones, I have my whatever, and then you have your basic orchestral, and then how you come up with the melody, the music of it is dependent on the scenes. Sometimes I let the sound inspire me. I'm like playing around with sounds, like ooh, oh, this is cool. I can make something with this. And all right, this one will be for that scene with the part of the scene. So sometimes this is more about like noodling around and getting inspired by the sound that you're producing from whatever you're using.
Okay. Now, coming back to Malaysia, you
Mm.
worked on a project for called M for Malaysia, which at that time it was quite monumental because we have gone through a major change in elections. Tun Dr. Mahathir was back as Prime Minister, and M for Malaysia was a film that documented the journey of his election campaign. How did you get roped into compose the theme song for that?
So I actually did that in LA, but it's a Malaysian project. But yeah, I did the score and the theme song for that. Um, I got roped through it through a friend. She said, "Hey, a friend of mine is the director of this film documentary. I'm from Malaysia. They are looking for a composer." I said, "Yeah, sure. Like, hook us up." So I spoke to Ineza, the director. I did not know she was the granddaughter of Tun at that time.
Yep.
So I just got, okay, she's the director. Talk, 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 talk. All right, send me the movie, send the film. I'll check it out. And I checked it out, and I heard her voice narrating it. But and then I was like, look at that. Oh, she's the granddaughter. Oh. And I was like, just realizing I got back and forth. Like, hey, cool. Okay, so I did not know you were the granddaughter of it. So that's how you got the footage, and stuff like that. So anyway, so that's how I got roped into it. And then after I agreed to do this thing. I met the producer Dion Lee. Um, yeah, so that's how I did it, and we did it remotely. They were in Malaysia. I was in LA. So I kind of had a long distance working relationship with them. And then sometime 2 months down the road, I went back to Malaysia to meet them and to record the score and the theme song.
Mm. How did it feel like as a young Malaysian? Did it affect you in a different way, or was it just like another project for you?
I would have to say it affected me in a certain way. It was special. I have to say because, first of all, I'm not very much into politics in anywhere. That's just me. Um, but I did know what was happening back in Malaysia during that, the whole historic general election. So I was kind of sort of following it. So I knew, I definitely know it was a big moment for our country. Um, as far as Tun Mahathir is concerned, I grew up, my primary school, my secondary school in Malaysia. I grew up when he was mostly in power, and my memory of him was, at that time, um, was nothing but greatness. My reality growing up was more about how Malaysia progressed under his leadership, and even I went to Boston to Berkeley, like I'll be meeting people and they goes like, "Hey, where you from?" It's like Malaysia. Ah, yeah, Mahathir, Mahathir. Like
Wow.
it was it was an amazing thing. What Tun did. And that whole thing. So in that respect, that I was very honored to have provided music to this documentary that covered this historical moment. And I wasn't there for the whole election or the whole process, but doing the score for that film made it feel like as if I was there. So it was a really it was a great moment, and it was really intimate and personal as well.
That's fantastic, man. Now, moving to another Malaysian film, which you helped out with, Olabola, which was
Yes.
loosely inspired by our own national Malaysian football team, like Mokhtar Dahari, Santok Singh, that bunch going and trying to compete in the Olympics. That was what it was inspired about, but it went on to be a huge film here. Everyone loved it, and you, with along with another fellow artist, ZRV, fantastic singer, helped create the theme song for that, which went on to win two awards, not only at the Malaysian Film Festival, but also at the prestigious Taipei Golden Horse Award. How did that feel, like that journey, creating the song to the moment of winning the awards?
Man, I did not even expect that journey to have ended, in those two awards. But I have to say, like, hats off to Z. I've known her for more than 10 years now. In KL Pack, that's when I first we shared her stage there. That's when I first met her. Became good friends, and then she moved out to LA. I came to LA much later, so we actually did that project together in LA. So she, the project of the theme song was hers, and when she got the project, she called me on board to, collaborate, so I jumped in with her, and we did this an amazing song. It was a great collaborative moment with her, and so we did the song together. And then by the time we were finished, we needed somebody with production expertise. So we called another fellow Malaysian, Alvin Wee. He's a producer as well as a mix engineer. So we got him on board to mix the song, just add a little bit of production, post production magic on it. And then, yeah, we shipped the song back. And Director Chu loved it the first sight, loved it first year, and then boom, I was like, oh, cool, and I thought that was it, like cool, my service that time was towards Z and towards this film of Olabola, which at that time I haven't seen it yet, because we only got certain cuts. But it was for me, it was like, yeah, you know, that project was more like, yeah, I want to collaborate with my cool friend Z and just see what happens. And we came up with a fantastic song, and for me, that was it. And then the film came out, the music video came out, and then suddenly, getting a lot of shout about it. I was like, oh wow, people actually like the song. I was like, it was actually, that was the first song that I, that was involved in that got so much attention. I've never had any experiences like this before. So thank you, Z, for the experience. But it was monumental because people start covering that song in acapellas and various forms. Like wow, best year, And then the next thing you know, it's like, oh, we got nominated for Malaysian Film Festival and the Golden Horse Awards, which I have to naively admit I did not know what it was then. I was
You do
like,
now.
and then I was like, I was like, and then I googled it. Oh shoots, it's like the Asian Oscars. Wow. And then yeah, and then the rest is history. Like we went through the thing and we won both cases, and man, it was a fantastic experience, and it was a life changing experience for me as well. It was a game changer.
I can imagine. I mean, like being on stage, winning an award for a song that you never expected to win anything for. That must have been some sort of experience.
Yeah, I guess the key is to write songs and not aim to get anything. Then you get in something. Maybe I don't know.
That's true. I don't know. I believe in that philosophy of like, you don't do something expecting something. You just do it because you want to do it and you're passionate about it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I mean, even we didn't get anything. Like for me, that was more than enough. Like having worked with my good friend Z and Alvin, like that collaborative process was just amazing, and it spoke of spirits of the film as well. Like it's all about collaboration. And that's when I actually realized that, damn, like good stuff can come out from collaborating. It's just bouncing ideas off of each other. You make someone's idea better, they make your idea better, and then boom, boom, boom. Oh, macam bola sepak lah. You pass, goal. Yes,
Well done. Good analogy. Well done.
came up with that.
Now, moving on to a little bit of a more personal note, has
Yeah.
there been any composers that have inspired you over the years that you look up to?
Of course, definitely. First off the bat is my mentor, Mac Rail. 5 years been working with him. You get to see a lot behind the scenes. And you realize it takes a lot to do something so professionally and keeping your life intact as well. um, he taught me a lot about the world about the world about film and TV scoring, as well as just like being a great human being in the process. Because man, the pace and the job of the industry here is really, man, it's really tough, man, and it can make you can make you it's one of those industry that can spoil you as a person, corrupt you as a person. And you got to be, you can be successful and be corrupt, or you can be successful and be a decent human being, So he kind of like showed me a lot of how to do that, So Max won just as, a decent human being, decent human composer in the world. Um, and then, musically as well, like I look up to people like, the almighty Hans Zimmer, obviously.
Who you've met, which is like holy shit.
Yeah, spoken to him in a few event occasions. He's a really nice guy. Yeah, I met him twice, I think. The second time I actually took a picture. I was like, hey, hey Hans. I was like, I respect a lot what you do. And I say, oh, where you from? From Malaysia. I say, oh, wow. And, it's nice to get. I don't know what exactly he said, and his cool German English mixed vocabulary, but he implied that it was kind of cool to have a lot of mixed nationalities in Hollywood, like doing, in this industry, And I guess it's not many Malaysians here as well, so that was sort of like, I guess, a highlight for him and for
Yeah.
me. Hans, yeah, because he contemporized film music in a way that, yeah, he sort of built, this world of um, this machine of a world of music where people can collaborate and like multiple like he kind of made this whole film scoring thing a corroborative thing where a lot of people can work yeah, kind of made a corporate structure out of it. And then of course John Williams, as I grew up, he was everybody's favorite. Just more because of his how he handles the lyrical musical aspect of things, and then I would have to say as well during my singer songwriter days, Damien Rice influenced me a lot in my songwriting, which I believe then sort of like my songwriting, which was influenced by Damien Rice, sort of got carried over into film and TV scoring. So I kind of have that background to sort of like, as an outlet to my music writing, or more as a source of my film and TV writing. There's a lot more, man, but we can go for an hour maybe.
Which unfortunately we don't have enough time for
No, no,
that.
I'm not gonna bore
But
you, man. But yeah.
to actually slowly wrap things up, what's next for you?
Uh, After this, watch some TV.
Well, I mean, career-wise.
Yeah, I knew that, Rendra. Sorry, man. I think what's next for me, which I would like to aim and manifest and hopefully work towards, it's getting my own TV show where I am the lead composer, or film where right now, yeah, thankfully, alhamdulillah, I've been getting some lead roles back in Malaysia. That's good, As far as the US is concerned, I've been additional writing music for a lot of TV shows that you probably have seen, but I can't say because of a lot of paperwork and stuff. But I've been doing a lot of yeah, writing for TV shows here and there. Just just contributing music as additional writer, which is cool. You get to involve in various projects. But I guess at some point, it'll be. I would love to transition and get the opportunity to lead my own TV show or a film in Hollywood that's that's somewhat prolific. I would say I have the tools for it. It's just more. I guess when it comes to Hollywood, It's just more about being at the right place at the right time, but also being prepared for it. I believe I'm prepared for it. I just need to find the right time and the right place.
Okay. And last question, of course, we always have to ask, if you were to impart any sort of advice to those future upcoming singer-songwriters or composers, what advice would you give them?
Ooh, so many, man. There's a lot of cliches advice out there, and in certain contexts they work well. But I think a lot of us, there's a lot of advice out there going, just go for it, just go, 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 go. But I think it's also important to know when to take a pause. Don't stop. If you need to take a pause, pause, but don't stop. I think, all right, like this is my take in any in the career of composing and in life in general as well. Like in order to go forward, like I think you first need to be in the back lines, following, have a find a great mentor, find a great leader, follow behind the back lines until you're comfortable enough to lead, you know and then you go. And then at some point, there might be a certain point in your life where you think, okay, I've done enough leading, I need to go behind the lines again. And that's, for me, is like, take a step back, just see things in perspective, because and then you follow in the back line again, behind somebody or behind something or an idea or something. You go, 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 and then until you okay again to lead. I think there's a bit of a tarik tali, bit of a puasa tak puasa, uh, I think you need to know when to take those, go forward, take a step back, go forward, take a step back. I think that's also important to not just go full fledged, and in the idea of, in the danger of possibly tripping yourself. Man, that's just like advice in life, I guess. But I think it works. It's important to realize that in this industry as well. A more specific advice for composers and songwriters, musically related: know your musical tech, because music composing, whatever, like, um, I believe in any industry anywhere around the world. Unfortunately, if you're serving somebody, because if you're doing composing, songwriting, is usually you're at the behest of, you're someone, you're serving somebody. You're providing service. And you need to be very proficient with your tools. It's not just about creativity, don't lah shock sendiri, whatever. Anybody can make music. Take guitar, piano, bam, boom. That's great. Um, but I think the next level to that, to make a living out of it, I believe, to take it further, is to understand all these musical tech tools at your disposal, to further the idea of your creativeness and geniosity in music. So take that time, learn your music tech shit stuff. Sorry, and I think it will take you very, very far.
Okay,
And just,
that sounds like
I'm
very
saying this assuming they know how to use a computer.
good. Let's hope so, at least. I mean, that's very poignant and good advice.
I mean, as far as singer songwriter is concerned, I guess that's probably a context on its own. You can just take your design and just perform live. Just know how to turn on the mics, I suppose.
Thanks so much for being here today, Rendra.
Dude, no problem,
Honestly,
man. It's my pleasure.
this conversation has really, I think, hopefully inspired some people who are watching this to maybe start their
Hopefully,
own journey. Yeah, but
it's yeah.
it's truly been an honor to have you here today. Really, honestly,
Oh man,
thanks
thank
so
you
much
so
for
much.
being
Thank
here.
you for your kind words. But and it's my honor as well to serve fellow geeks and share my experiences.
Thanks so much. One more thing. If people want to find you on your social medias or your website or whatnot, where can they find you?
Uh, they can find me on Instagram, Rendra Zawawi, one word, Rendrazawawi. I'm just gonna point my finger down here. Maybe you will write that caption down here
Yep,
somewhere. I don't know how this
yep,
works,
yep.
but you can find me there. I have a website, but it's very outdated, with old stuff, and that's it. My Instagram is public, my Facebook too, but Instagram.
Okay. Thanks so much again, Rendra,
Dude, no
and
problem, man.
have a pleasant week ahead.
Thank you. You too.
And thank you for sticking around and enjoying our conversation. We hope it's inspired you and any future composers out there. We hope this has been helpful for you. Now, if you want to see more of our stuff, don't forget you can always follow us on our social media at Geeks in Malaysia, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the usual stuff. If you'd like to contact us or let us know who you want on the show, give us a shout at geeksinmalaysia@gmail.com. And you can also head towards geeksinmalaysia.com, your one-stop shop for all things Geeks in Malaysia. And of course, if you'd like to help support the show, you can always go to ko-fi.com/geeksinmalaysia, ko-fi.com/geeksinmalaysia. You can help us out there. Give us a coffee. We really appreciate everything that you give us. So help us out. And last but not least, make sure you hit that subscribe button and all the usual stuff that goes along to a YouTube channel, youtube.com/Geeks in Malaysia, or of course, you can just search for Geeks in Malaysia. So that'll do it for me. I am Nate Dorian. Thanks so much for watching, and of course, keep geeking out, yo.